fight begins, and unbeknownst to the spectators, the fate of the world is in the balance. The two test the waters with each other for a while until Ma Jr. gets mad enough to blow up the entire area, leaving Goku to endanger himself to get Ma Jr. to redirect his attack. At this point, Goku announces a Cho, or Super Kamehameha, but the Muten Roshi stops him, reminding him that if he kills Piccolo, then Kami-sama will die too. Ma Jr. gloats about the benefits of being evil while Goku wrings his hands. Honestly, it shouldn't be that tough of a decision. As Spock said, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. But Krillin says that they could just use the Dragon Balls to bring God back to life, and that's enough for Goku to fire a super duper blast that overpowers Ma Jr.'s and shreds his clothes. And now, his antennae are showing. Oh my gosh, it's Piccolo! I can't believe we didn't notice this before! If only we'd seen the antenna! My favorite part of this is that the announcer stays behind, continuing to commentate to no one, leaving Bluma to comment that he's a pro. At this point, Ma Jr. breaks out an attack he'll never use again. He grows into a giant and starts beating up on Goku. Surprisingly, he never manages to go outside of bounds, even when Goku picks him up and throws him. At Goku's taunting that he'd be in really big trouble if he grew larger, Ma Jr. grows even larger, giving himself almost no room to move in any direction, but just like when Goku fought Ten Shinhan, this is a trick. Goku propels himself into Ma Jr.'s mouth, and when the demon spits him out, Goku is holding the bottle, which he throws to Ten Shinhan to open. Good grief, how stupid do you have to be for Goku of all people to outsmart you? At this, Ma Jr. reverts to his regular size and the fight continues. But when Goku gets in a pinch, Kami-sama steps in to block the attack. However, Goku insists he take the blow and fight by himself, otherwise he won't be able to win the match, which is apparently more important. And at this, Kami-sama has even more reason to validate his opinion that Goku does not have what it takes to defeat Piccolo. Ma Jr. launches a key attack that follows Goku's every move, but Goku outsmarts him. Again, leaving Ma Jr. to get hit by his own attack. That seems pretty useful. Goku should remember that one. Ma Jr. has busted up his arm, but he just rips it off and grows a new one, establishing the regeneration ability that's eventually going to be wanked all to hell. Ma Jr. is furious now and decides to just blow up absolutely everything. The only way the bystanders manage to survive is by Ten Shinhan making a hole with his Kikoho for everyone to climb in, which apparently doesn't risk his life in this continuity. Now that's something I'd imagine could help out in later situations. All you have to do to avoid a super duper beam of death is just get under it. But Goku, not under it, weathers the explosion, and with Ma Jr. having used up most of his power, Goku goes in for the final blow. It seems to have worked, and Ma Jr. even stays down for a 9 count, but when Goku lowers his guard, Ma Jr. shoots a mouth blast straight through Goku's right shoulder. And I have to say, this is definitely the bloodiest wound in the series thus far. Just compare it to the magically clean hole Goku put in the original Piccolo. Ma Jr. then takes out Goku's remaining limbs so as not to repeat the mistake of his father. So it seems that Goku is vaporized when Ma Jr. fires his blast. Just when he prepares to destroy everyone else, Goku arrives once more. He avoided the blast with Buku Jutsu and uses it to knock Ma Jr. out of bounds. At this point, it's a miracle it's possible to tell where the edges are. Everything else, as far as the eye can see, is featureless wasteland, but at ground zero, you can still make out the outline of the ring. How convenient! But let's not ruin the moment. After 3 tries and 6 years, Goku has finally won the Tenkaichi Budokai. Yajirobe digs himself out of a hole in the ground. Hey, another demonstration of how you can survive all manner of destruction as long as you're below it. He gives Goku a senzu, shocking everyone that his wounds just magically healed like that. But the joy is short-lived when Goku sees God about to kill the helpless Piccolo. He stops him from doing so, countering God's assertion that they can just bring him back to life with the Dragon Balls, by revealing that the Dragon Balls would cease to exist if he died. Although if Goku already knew that, why did he agree to that plan earlier with the Super Kamehameha? However, God is still prepared to end his own life, since Piccolo was his own fault to begin with. But the Muten Roshi counters this, saying that without the Dragon Balls that God created, Goku and the others would never have met each other and grown into the heroes they are now, and so it's due to Kami-sama that the world is saved. Goku gives a senzu to Piccolo, who flies off, swearing revenge, leaving Goku to think to himself that he'll continue to push himself past Piccolo. God offers to let Goku take his place, but Goku refuses, saying how bored he was up there for only 3 years. When God persists, Goku calls Quinton and he and Chi-Chi fly off, a tiny Kame-Sennin assuring us that the story is not over yet. Oh, and Chaozu's okay too. Yay. I find the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai arc to be rather fascinating. It's clearly a story of transition and a celebration of everything that had come before. It mixes the fun and wacky tournaments of older Dragon Ball with the emerging super battles to save the world, and I admit I find the results a bit mixed sometimes. That is, I find it pretty obvious why a tournament is never the main focal point of an arc after this. It just couldn't be. The characters are too strong to be contained by a ring and rules anymore. The few times in the future it ever comes up again, it has to end up being subverted or ignored in some way. And honestly, the premise can barely hold up here. I can understand why Goku follows the rules. He's invested in this tournament and wants to win. I can understand why Ma Jr. enters the tournament and battles all the way through to the end. He wants to publicly humiliate Son Goku and drain hope from the world by showing its savior destroyed by a reborn Piccolo. But once he gets into the final match, what reason does he have to keep this up? What does he care? Is he really going to stop fighting if some referee tells him he's lost? That's why I say it's ridiculous that he doesn't just step out of the ring when he's as big as the ring. It sure is convenient that the attack that knocks Ma Jr. out of the ring also knocks him out. And it sure is lucky that once Ma Jr. gets his Senzu, he doesn't just start the fight all over again. The saving grace is the audience. Us, not the tournament audience. We accept it because we want Goku to win. If this had been the first tournament arc, this would have bombed spectacularly, I think. But since we've seen Goku fail to win twice, we're as invested in seeing him win as Goku is, so it is satisfying seeing a tournament arc go as far as it possibly can. As far as structure goes, this tournament is more locked in than any other. The threat of Piccolo makes it more focused to be sure, but I think it's actually a little too focused. For me, part of the fun of the tournament arcs is seeing new and exciting fighters. But in this arc, every single finalist is someone we've met before. And that's even after removing Jackie Chun and Chaozu. And as a result of it being so focused, it's even more obvious than usual how it's going to end up. We know from the outset the final match will be Goku versus Ma Jr. So Goku is definitely going to win all of his matches. Ma Jr. is definitely going to win all of his matches. Shen is the kind of mysterious guy who has to be there for a purpose, so he's not going to immediately lose. The only possible exception for surprise is Tao Pai Pai, but they ruin that. Admittedly, surprise isn't everything, especially in a story like this. It's the journey, not the destination. But a lot of the outcomes just seem too easy to the point that everyone but Goku, Ma Jr., and Shen just feel unimportant. Checkpoints have to be met to move on, with the few subplots that exist being dropped or resolved way too easily. There's just no room to breathe. Just like with the last arc, one of the things I like about this arc is the godly elements. In the last arc, the plot revolving around Piccolo and the backstory revolving around God seemed to be developed separately, but here they finally come together and the story's all the better for it. Shen is a great character design. He looks appropriately meek and goofy when he needs to, but when he's badass, he totally pulls it off. If anything, God looking like an everyday salaryman amongst all these fantastic-looking people makes him seem even grander somehow. More importantly, the mythological overtones are handled very well. I like the idea of a god attempting to take responsibility for problems he caused. The story could very easily have been done without him, but I don't think it would have been nearly as good. It still leaves many questions, though. In the last arc, when Goku asked Popo why they didn't take care of Piccolo, he stated that Kami-sama had his reasons, which seemingly turned out to be the fact that they can't exist independently. If Piccolo dies, then so does Kami-sama. To which I say, so what? I get the fact that he doesn't want to die, but tough. I get the idea of gods not wanting to interfere in mortal problems, but this isn't a mortal problem. It's a godly problem. He made it! It's not a natural disaster or a man-made catastrophe. It would be like if God was carrying a boulder so heavy he couldn't lift it, only to drop it on Earth and have it crush an entire continent, and then go, it's on Earth. It's nothing to do with me. At least for Piccolo's first rampage, it's left completely vague as to what God was doing then. Given his comments in this arc, it might confirm he wasn't aware of it at the time, since it implies he only recently learned of the Mafuba. But in the last arc, Popo's comments make it clear that they knew that Piccolo had been at large again. The only thing I can guess is that it all happened and was done with so quickly that God didn't really have a chance to do anything. However, Kami-sama does say he considered leaving the Dragon Balls inert, even though they were to be used to bring back people he is responsible for having died. And you can argue that mortality is not seen as the important part of a soul's journey. except that it's established that the souls of those killed by Mazaku do not pass on. So, yeah, that's a pretty dick move. But maybe he was just testing Goku or something. Then there's the whole issue with suicide. God repeatedly says a god can't commit suicide, so that's out when it comes to defeating Piccolo. However, the word used is more likely to refer to not being allowed to do so, rather than being physically incapable of doing so. So basically, while it's never spelled out, there's some godly law that says thou shalt not kill thyself, and I would assume there's some punishment attached to doing so. To which I again say, so what? If that's the easiest, cleanest way of ending the threat, do it, if you're truly repentant and not just blowing smoke. But then again, at one point in the arc, he insists that Tenshinhan has to kill him because he can't do it himself, so maybe being a god does make him physically incapable of doing so. Anyway, it's obviously not a seamless plot thread. There are definitely issues that make God look either incompetent or uncaring, but overall, it works. And yes, I like the part where Shen and Ma Jr. talk to each other in their native tongue. And yes, that is actually a rare bit of foreshadowing. Toriyama decided that Piccolo was an alien around the time he introduced God, so they are intended to be speaking in an alien language before that plot point is revealed. So go Toriyama! I've never split up my final analysis before, but this is all just too much for one video, so Dragon Ball Dissection December is going into extra innings. Check back on New Year's Eve for the final part of the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai arc.